You spoke about generational trauma, I think, on a podcast I listened to, particularly about Flanders. Are you from Flanders, right?
Yeah, Bruges, West Flanders.
Okay,
yeah.
so a lot of fighting in World War One, wasn't it? It wasn't the Western
It was
Front.
pretty brief, but it was known as, like, it was one of the first countries that got hit hard. And so poor little Belgium, that's the phrase that came from that. The army was overwhelmed. And then so from the beginning to the end, in both wars, Belgium was almost entirely occupied by the Germans for the whole span of the war.
Right, so the theory is that there is such a thing as generational trauma. This literally passed through your genes. Right. And would you say you're an advocate of that idea now?
I don't know if I would call it genetic. I definitely think that because there's so much being transferred between parents and children, like even in the womb, right? If your mother has very high amounts of stress because of trauma that she's maybe inherited even, you just pass that on by just because you absorb, your brain is so malleable, and if your heart gets transplanted, there's literally memories that get transplanted with it. Like, it's the most bizarre phenomenon. So I don't know if it's genes, but like clearly there's a very powerful transfer from generations. And I feel like it helped me a lot to have a lot more compassion with my parents, my grandparents, just to think that sometimes trauma is so big and you've inherited from multiple generations. It's almost impossible to say, I'm going to process all this trauma in my lifetime so I don't pass it on to my kids. But you kind of do what you can. Like you can, there's very powerful ways to actually process trauma and then kind of slowly help the next generation heal, because you pass on less.